It was a dark and stormy night when Allison first met Jack. She had just moved into her new apartment and was struggling to get her boxes inside when Jack appeared out of nowhere, offering to help. He was tall and muscular, with piercing blue eyes and a charming smile. Allison couldn't help but feel drawn to him, even though she didn't know anything about him. Over the next few weeks, Jack and Allison began to see more of each other. They went on long walks through the city, talked for hours on end, and discovered that they shared a love of classic literature. But there was something mysterious about Jack that Allison couldn't quite put her finger on. He never talked about his past, and he seemed to have a knack for disappearing whenever she asked too many questions. One night, Allison decided to confront Jack about his secrecy. They were sitting in her apartment, sipping on wine, when she asked him directly. "Jack, I feel like there's something you're not telling me," she said. "Is there something you're hiding?" Jack hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "Allison, I have a past that I'm not proud of," he said. "I've done things that I'm not proud of. But I promise you, I'm not the same person I was then. I've changed, and I'm trying to make up for my mistakes." Allison looked into his eyes, trying to gauge his sincerity. She wanted to trust him, but there was still a nagging feeling in the back of her mind that something wasn't right. Over the next few days, Allison started to notice that Jack was acting strange. He would disappear for hours at a time, and when he returned, he seemed jittery and nervous. One day, she followed him to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. As she approached the building, she heard muffled voices and the sound of shuffling feet. Allison's heart pounded in her chest as she cautiously crept closer. She peered through a crack in the door and saw Jack standing in the center of the room, surrounded by a group of shady-looking men. They were discussing something in hushed tones, and Allison could see that they were passing around a small black bag. Suddenly, one of the men looked up and saw her watching. Allison gasped and stumbled backwards, tripping over a discarded piece of metal. The men heard the noise and ran towards her, but Allison managed to scramble to her feet and sprint away. She didn't stop until she was safely back in her apartment, heart pounding and hands shaking. For the next few days, Allison was terrified that the men would come after her. She didn't leave her apartment, and she was too scared to call the police. But then, one night, there was a knock at her door. Allison hesitated, then cautiously opened it to find Jack standing on her doorstep. "Allison, I'm so sorry," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I never wanted to get you involved in any of this. I'm part of a group that's trying to take down a dangerous criminal organization. That black bag you saw, it was filled with evidence that we need to convict them." Allison was stunned. She couldn't believe that the man she had fallen in love with was involved in something so dangerous. But as she listened to Jack's story, she realized that he was telling the truth. And despite the danger, she knew that she had to help him. Together, they worked with the authorities to bring down the criminal organization. It was a long and dangerous process, but in the end, justice was served. As they stood together on the steps of the courthouse, Allison knew that she had found the man she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. Jack had been honest with her about his past and the danger he had put her in, and he had risked his life to make things right. They returned to her apartment, both exhausted but relieved that it was all over. Jack held Allison close as they sat on the couch, watching the rain pour down outside. "Allison, I know I've put you through a lot," Jack said, looking at her with a mixture of love and regret. "But I want you to know that I love you, and I'll do anything to keep you safe." Allison leaned into him, feeling the weight of the past few weeks lifting from her shoulders. "I love you too, Jack," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped up in each other's arms. Allison knew that there would be challenges ahead, but she also knew that she had found someone who was willing to face them with her. As the rain continued to fall outside, they made a promise to always be honest with each other, no matter what. And with that, they fell asleep, content in the knowledge that they had each other to face whatever the future held. The end.